Xbox On. Welcome to Xbox On, a podcast with one host about one console, Xbox. I'm said host Jesse DeRosa, and on today's episode, we'll be talking about the latest Xbox news for the week of December 14th, 2024, including the Game Awards 2024 just took place, so let's go over all the big announcements. Plus, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is finally available on Xbox, Day 1 Game Pass, PC, and soon PlayStation. All that and more coming right up. Welcome. That's right. We're not starting this week off the usual way. It's a special episode. You can feel it. You can also probably tell because, well, the podcast is coming out on Saturday morning instead of Thursday. What is going on? Well, I'll tell you what's going on. It's the Game Awards, motherfucker. So, yeah, it's that special time of year where the year's starting to wind down and you get all this big hype and games media push in early December with all the Game Award news and all the announcements and everything, and then everything just kind of falls off a cliff for the rest of December into the first half of January, but we're not here to talk about that just yet. Guys, welcome to Xbox On, episode 289. Mike Clark writes in and says, Xbox On podcast, 5-star only Xbox podcast, Machine Games, slander will not be tolerated, and fuck Connect, more coming later. Okay? Mike Clark, good to see you, bud. Guys, this week we're going to be doing things a little bit differently if you can't already tell, so we're not going to go through our regular format, talk about what I've been eating and all that stuff. Really, we're just going to get into some mild news stories and then really get in deep with all the Game Awards information, and then we'll wrap up with comments. And, you know, this time of year, this is kind of what happens with the shows. The format gets a little wonky as we do some special shows. Today's about the Game Awards, and then in a few weeks we'll do two other shows, which I'll get into in a minute. But first, I just kind of wanted to go over that, explain kind of what's going on here. Also, there's a big game that just came out. We gotta pay attention to it. It's gotta be the first thing at the top of the show we address. Guys, as of this week, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is officially out. It came out Monday. Technically, if you paid the $30 upgrade or you bought the special edition, it came out last Friday, so there's good chance some of you guys have already been playing it for over a week at this point. But for most of us, it came out this week on Monday. And this is incredibly notable because, well, of course, this game wasn't really developed by, under Microsoft's leadership. This is really more of a Machine Games developed game under Bethesda's leadership, production efforts from Todd Howard in partnership with Lucasfilm and Disney and all that stuff. So this isn't really like an Xbox first party internally developed labor of love, but again, by extension of Microsoft having acquired ZeniMax and Bethesda and everything, this is now their baby. They get to reap the rewards of this game. So this is really Xbox's first big AAA game to come out, I guess, this generation that's kind of gotten like this unanimous praise. I'm trying to think. I mean, obviously, Pentiment, Forza Horizon 5, there are these exceptions, but these are either niche sequels to an ongoing series that no one really cares for. Like, not that no one cares about Forza, it's just that Forza is there to serve the Forza market. It's not like someone on PlayStation is going to be like, say what? Xbox got not a third or not a fourth, but a fifth Forza Horizon game. You know, that's not the system seller. That's the game to serve your existing audience. Pentiment, a very well beloved indie style title from one of honestly Xbox's biggest first party studio in terms of their output and their consistent commitment to servicing the Xbox platform with great games. But nonetheless, not necessarily your system seller, your killer app. This is really the first time, because think about it. Halo Infinite. It was like kind of a success at launch, and then quickly turned into a blunder. Starfield didn't hit the way we all thought it would. So like Xbox just had, Hellblade 2 came and went earlier this year. Xbox really hasn't had a first party AAA style game that's come out in the Xbox Series generation yet. That's kind of come out swinging big dick energy and just everybody look at me, look at this game. It's amazing. Not much negative press surrounding it whatsoever. You know, Starfield and Halo, these games sold well. They garnered a lot of attention, definitely drew eyes to Xbox and to Game Pass. But this is a game that seems to just kind of be nothing but a good thing for Xbox, which is, we'll get into it, why it's so unfortunate that this game is coming to PlayStation almost immediately afterwards in the next 3 or 4 months or so. Because it's like, wow, if this was like Xbox a year ago or 3 years ago or 5 years ago or, any time before this past year, this would have been such an amazing win for Xbox because they've been fucking falling over themselves forever now trying to get another first-party exclusive game that kind of lights the world on fire and is that water cooler moment. And it seems like Indiana Jones is kind of that game. It's really the hot game right now. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's loving on it. It's getting great reviews. It has an 87 on Metacritic right now, which is outstanding. People are talking about how good it looks, how fun it is, how engaging it is, how it's the best Indiana Jones adventure since The Last Crusader. So it's like, I mean, this is great. This is awesome. And then the little like ominous thing about this whole situation, the asterisk is, oh, but it's a PlayStation game. And it's like, I don't know. The pessimist in me almost wondered. It's like when I saw, leading up to this game's launch, how well it was reviewing as the embargo lifted and how well games media were talking about it. I'm like, I don't truly believe this. But you couldn't fault a person for wondering if maybe like the reason this game is getting so much love and attention is because knowing it's coming to PlayStation and it was developed by a formerly third party developer is kind of like giving it that pass for people to not be as hard on like the we hate Xbox thing. I don't truly believe it. I know that's not games media and people aren't that stupid and petty, but it's almost hard to believe that that's not the case just because Xbox has had such a hard time connecting in the Xbox One and Xbox Series generations with really killer like show-stopping first-party content. And this game really, I feel like we've said this before on the podcast. I probably said this when Starfield and Halo came out, but I feel like this really seems to be that. Now, in my personal opinion, is this like the Xbox game to finally put Xbox back on the map? Absolutely not. I'm saying this as someone who adored Halo 5, adored Gears of War 4 and 5, adored Quantum Break, adored Sunset Overdrive, adored Starfield, really liked Halo Infinite, but was very conflicted about it. I say this as someone who has really, really enjoyed and been fed well by Xbox over the past 2 generations. I just am not, so fucking inside my own bubble that I can't look outside and notice that the rest of the world is not on that same page with me, that I'm very much kind of marching to my own beat here with feeling this way about Xbox, and that a lot of the rest of the gaming community feels somewhat disconnected from the brand with their support and their output in the past 2 generations. Anyways, I don't want to harp on it too much. It's just a celebratory moment. I just want to acknowledge it, give props to, of course, Machine Games, a developer I love so much ever since that first Wolfenstein game came out in 2014. Their kind of reboot interpretation of the series. I have had just so much love and respect for these guys. A lot of former Starbreeze people. So we're talking about the guys who made Chronicles of Riddick, Escape Butcher Bay. We're talking about the guys that made the Darkness games. But yeah, in this iteration, this incarnation as Machine Games, these guys have just been a wonderful developer. The Wolfenstein games have been phenomenal, and I have no doubt Indie is going to be phenomenal as well. I haven't played it yet, so this past weekend I had my mother visiting, and then after that, my girlfriend went out of town, and I've basically been just like stuck at work / babysitting cats the whole week. I just really, honestly, the little guy, the one we just adopted, he's a little sick right now. So I'm basically just having to spend most of my time trying to get him to take medicine and then just chilling with him, trying to help keep him company in hopes that he's getting better. He's fine. Like, he's not like dying or anything. He's just, I don't know. He's just a fucking crazy cat who likes to shit everywhere, but it's all good. Weekend is upon us as I record this on a Friday night. I'm going to get this bitch recorded, edited, uploaded to your podcast services, and then tomorrow, Saturday, oh baby boy, I'm just gonna play Indiana Jones all day. That's the only plan I got. So really looking forward to getting into this game. It looks phenomenal. I spent all week just being like, damn, soon, very soon I will get to you. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think it looks phenomenal. So props to Bethesda, props to Machine Games, props to, congrats to Xbox and all the other whatever. It's cool to see a win. and who knows, I mean, it's kind of weird because I know, like, now that it's actually happening, Xbox is basically just going multi-platform and saying fuck you to Xbox hardcore players and to the console base. We're all like really like in shock and a little like upset and hurt about it, and rightfully so. But it's funny because, like, I was thinking about it the other day. I'm like, 2-3 years ago on Xbox On, that's what we were talking about, right? That's kind of like the news we were speculating about as a future where eventually Xbox is going to have to put some games on PlayStation. And the value proposition isn't going to be, do you get an Xbox or a PlayStation based on the games? It's, do you get a PlayStation where you have to buy every game, or do you get an Xbox where there's amazing value, a really awesome console, and then you can subscribe to Game Pass and just get all this shit included? You know, the exclusive feature, the killer app of Xbox is having a Game Pass subscription. It's getting games like Indiana Jones a few months before they come to PlayStation. And it's, you know, being invested in that Xbox ecosystem. Now, is that going to be enough to keep Xbox competitive with PlayStation? I don't fucking think so. I think Xbox as a console brand in the traditional sense is absolutely on its way out the door. Unfortunately, you know, maybe what that looks like, I don't know. Is that like 2 years? Is that 2 more generations? Is that 20 more years? I don't know. Couldn't tell you. But do I think that Xbox is 100% out the door, and that putting these games, capitulating and putting their content on PlayStation is absolutely a sign of what's to come? Oh yeah, no fucking doubt. But this podcast isn't a criticism of Xbox. It is a celebration of Xbox. It's a community of Xbox fans and long-term players. So yeah, we do criticize, but we also celebrate, but we also cover the news and we discuss, and we, you know, with the news we're given and the contemporary sentiment and attitude towards the brand, we just take everything one day at a time, and we try to interpret what we think is going on and where we think things are headed based on where we're at in the moment. So that's what the podcast is. That's what it'll continue to be. I feel like I just made that so vague that kind of describes any podcast, but whatever. You know, apply it to whatever brand or topic they cover. But anyway, I'm rambling. I don't know. I'm in a weird energy. I've had like nothing but like 4-hour nights of rest lately, so like I feel like instead of being exhausted, I'm just fucking wired. I'm just crazy right now. I'm ready to record. I'm ready to sit here for 3 hours and talk about the Game Awards and how Jeff Keighley, the shoes weren't matching the bow tie. What was he thinking, wearing black on black on black? Are you kidding me? Let's get into it, guys. All right, so we do have some mildly amusing stories that I think we're going to kick off with here, and then we'll get into the Game Awards proper. But before we do that, I want to explain what the plan is for the next few weeks. So after this week, there are 2 more weeks in December. 2 more weeks. So the way we always do it, next week will be a regular podcast. The show will go live on Thursday again. It will just try to be another news segment. Generally, the way the week after the Game Awards goes is there's pretty much no news. It's just a couple drip feed updates about things that happen at the Game Awards. So like this game that was announced got a new gameplay demo. This game that was announced has, you know, the game director clarified that this mechanic is actually intended to do whatever. You know, we'll get those kinds of stories usually. But as far as game news for the rest of the year, that's a wrap. So next week will be a regular episode, but the week after that will be our last episode of the year, and that's the special episode where we go over our favorite games we played of the year. And so the way it works, if you're new to Xbox On, if you discovered the podcast this year, which statistically no one did, but if you discover the podcast this year, the way we always do this for the very last episode of the year, you guys write in with your top 5 favorite games you played of that year, and then I go over mine as well. But here's the catch. It's not a traditional game of the year thing. It's not, hey, here are my top 5 favorite Xbox games from 2024. It is, no, these are the 5 games I played in 2024 that I most enjoyed. So it could be a game that released in 2024, a game that released in 1973, a game that released in 2011. Doesn't fucking matter. It could be an Xbox game, a Nintendo game, an Ouya game, and a mobile game. Doesn't matter. It can be whatever game you want it to be. So it's just the only stipulation, the only rules are, it is a game that you played this year that was one of your top 5 favorite gaming experiences, because even though this is an Xbox podcast, at the end of the day, I love the idea that like the end of the year is just a way to wrap it up and just celebrate and look back and put a stamp on the year and say, hey, this is my accomplishment, or this is my portfolio of gaming that was done throughout the year, and here are my kind of wrap-up thoughts, the 5 biggest highlights of the year for me. So I can already tell you right now, my number 1 game of the year is a game that definitely did not come out this year. But, you know, I give you like the rundown of how that works now, so that you can start writing in. And if you write in this week with your top 5 favorite games play of the year, I'll save those comments, and then next week I'll ask you to do it again, and you guys write in, I'll save those comments, and then on that last episode that will go live, the last episode of the year will go live Thursday the 26th, the day after Christmas. So I guess I'm probably going to have to record that on Christmas Eve. But it'll go live Thursday the 26th, the day after Christmas, and that will be the episode where we celebrate our 5 favorite games that we played throughout the year. Celebrate. Listen, come out of the closet. If you're a Nintendo Switch fan, tell us that your favorite game you played this year was that new Mario Party game. Tell us you're a fucking imbecile is what you are. Come out and tell us what you think. Fucking Astrobot winning game of the year. But yeah, so we'll do that. That'll be a lot of fun. And then the first week of January, the following week, that will be the roadmap ahead for the year. That the first episode of the year is always like, hey, this is a snapshot look of what we can expect from Xbox in 2025, as we do every year as well. So look forward to those 2 episodes. And then after that, once we're into the second week of January, it'll pretty much be back to business as usual. And then keep in mind, remember, Xbox does their developer direct every January now. So 3rd or 4th week of January, expect a pretty notable showcase. I mean, we're about to get into it, but the reason why Xbox wasn't very present at the Game Awards is because they're about to do their own event in a couple weeks. So we're going to have some Xbox news to really get excited about pretty soon here, pretty much just like a month from now. So, all right, with all the housekeeping out of the way, all the indie jerkin out of the way, all the Harrison Ford, let's get into the mildly amusing stories. Guys, this kind of started a week or 2 weeks ago, but now we got a pretty substantial update. So Sony have confirmed that they are interested in purchasing Kadokawa, the Japanese conglomerate that owns a large amount of anime, manga, IP, as well as Elden Ring developer From Software. Now, Kadokawa, or it was reported that Kadokawa, the media powerhouse that owns From Software, among other companies, was in talks to be acquired by Sony. So that broke a couple weeks back in late November. But following these reports, the company confirmed that discussions had taken place, but no decisions were made. Well, now Sony has confirmed that, or commented on the reporting, saying that, yeah, it's true, that we've made the initial statement of intent, Sony said when asked about the plans for the Japanese media giant via Yahoo Japan. We would appreciate it if you would allow us to refrain from further comment. It's such a Japanese thing to say. Employees at Kadokawa are reportedly hopeful that the potential takeover by Sony is completed due to issues with current management at the company. I don't want to get too in the weeds on this because ultimately this is like big PlayStation news, but it affects us over here on the Xbox front of things because obviously From Software, Elden Ring, Dark Souls, these are, Sekiro, these are games that have come to Xbox. These are From Software games that have been huge on Xbox. So the only really, From Software games that have been PlayStation only have been the Demon Souls and Bloodborne, right? Yeah. So, I mean, this is one of the hottest developers out there in the world right now, and this is potentially taking them off the map for Xbox. Now, could this be like a Bungie or an Activision type thing where if Sony were to acquire From Software, they would keep their products multi-platform and they wouldn't bring them in-house and say, oh, From Software is a Sony first-party developer, they're this kind of like separate entity that we own? Maybe, but it's something to keep your eyes peeled for as we hear more about this, because it looks like Sony is trying to purchase them. And so that will obviously have ramifications for Xbox in some way, shape, or form. As for the rest of Kadokawa and all the anime and manga and shit that they own, I don't want to think about it. It makes me sick. It makes my stomach just turn thinking about. I got a nice Mountain Dew Baja Blast here that I'm sipping on while we record the podcast this evening. It's been a while. You know me these days. Oops, sorry. It's a zero sugar Baja Blast, so we don't got the calories, but it's still garbage. Anyway. Let's continue on. Xbox insiders can now stream select games that they own outside of Game Pass catalog on their consoles. So we've been talking about this feature coming for a while now. Finally, we're starting to get some form of support for it. So if you're an Xbox insider in the alpha skip ahead ring, you're also a Game Pass Ultimate subscriber, you'll be able to partake in this early testing. So available in 28 countries. The only one you need to know about that matters is the United States of America. God bless this fucking country. I love healthcare. It's so awesome. It is available. The full list of countries where it's available is, check Xbox Wire or whatever. But last month, Microsoft stated that started letting Game Pass Ultimate members play select games that they own via cloud streaming on PC, phone, tablet, and handheld. Most devices that can access a web browser. At the time, it said that support for the feature will be coming to Xbox consoles in 2025, but clearly their plans are to get it probably pretty early in 2025, which is why what am I trying to say? Insiders are getting a taste of it now. Supported titles include Assassin's Creed Mirage, Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk 2077, Final Fantasy 14, Hogwarts Legacy, The Witcher 3, Wild Hunt, Star Wars Outlaws, Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2, and many more. The Xbox Insider Program lets players offer feedback on the latest Xbox updates as well as in-development features on games, on consoles, and Windows 10/11 devices. Players interested in signing up for the program need to download the Xbox Insider Hub for console or PC. It's a separate app. This is great. This is something I actually really want. It's not as exciting as the... Sorry, I was conflating this with something else. This is a feature I very much have been looking forward to. I just want to be able to basically stream a game like Marvel Midnight Sun, which is so perfect for my Logitech G Cloud, from my from my Xbox account without having to turn on an Xbox and then remote play. That's the Sony phrase for it. What does Xbox call it? Whatever. Console link or whatever from my tablet to my Xbox. It's one extra step that makes the whole process so inelegant and so cumbersome. And if I could just stream games I own from my Xbox account to my tablet, like I can with Game Pass games, that would just be this even more seamless, fluid kind of embracing of game streaming slash Xbox, being this like, this is an Xbox kind of thing. So I feel like this is such a necessary feature that honestly I'm surprised it's taken this long for us to get here. But I'm very excited that we're starting to see the rollout of this feature. Let's get Marvel Midnight Suns on there. Come on. All right, let's keep it going. Speaking of Indiana Jones, now the boss of Lucasfilm Games has said it would be super interesting to tell more stories in the Indiana Jones universe. With The Great Circle releasing this week on Xbox Series X, the game's getting a lot of buzz, doing really well, scoring a Metacritic score of 87. But in an interview with Variety, Lucasfilm Games VP and General Manager Douglas Riley suggested that there could be franchise potential in the partnership with Machine Games if The Great Circle is successful, which it seems like it is. Riley says, right now we're focused on getting this one to the public and getting the DLC and making that as successful as we can. I think we're always looking for great stories, and the good news is there's a lot of space in between the films where we could tell more and more Indiana Jones stories. I think would be super interesting. Riley also touched on whether The Great Circle is considered canon to the Indiana Jones universe, to which Riley says, so canon is such a complicated word. It's an authentic story set in between the two movies, Raiders of the Lost Ark and Last Crusade. Riley says, we work closely with the studio and franchise management, so yes, it's meant to be an authentic Indiana Jones experience in that sense. So what that means is, at this time, we don't know how well this game is going to be received. So if it goes really, really well, and this is like the way for this franchise forward, we'll consider this canon. However, if the game doesn't do too well, we can just say, it's just a video game, it's a separate thing. And that's really what that means, because I think Disney and Lucasfilm don't want to commit to anything being necessarily canon unless it's a fucking Disney Plus show or a theatrical release at this point in time. So whatever. It doesn't matter. Who gives a shit if it's canon? The point is, I think something that people are really excited about because of how this is done is, Harrison Ford's an old fucking man. Not to say he's going to die tomorrow or something, who knows. But just to say he's an old guy. Like, his days of playing the Indiana Jones that people grew up and loved, those days are over. And one of the big criticisms, especially of his most recent film, but also the 2008 Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, is it's like, it's old man Indiana Jones. It's like, even if the movie's okay, and I say this as someone who likes all the Indiana Jones movies, I definitely agree the original three are a lot better than the latter fourth and fifth installments, but I like the fourth and fifth movies, and I actually especially like that one that came out last year, the fifth one. I thought it was like pretty decent. It was a lot better than like half the Star Wars shit we get nowadays. So I was more than fine with that movie. But yeah, there is something to be said. There's a lot of magic that's gone when it's like, we just can't get that Indiana Jones back. He's Harrison Ford's an old man, and you can't just recast him. But the beauty of video games and with Troy Baker's amazing acting, it's like, you can kind of recapture the magic through making a really good video game of Indiana Jones. And I feel like that's kind of a path forward. There's this weird full circle effect with, not the Great Circle, but the full circle effect with Indiana Jones, where it's like, it was this great movie franchise that they weren't really able to recapture the magic in future generations with future installments, like in the 2000, like in the aughts and in the 2020s. I guess the 2010s didn't have an indie movie, just the 2000s and the 2020s, which sounds weird. But anyway, while they haven't been able to recapture that magic in all the time between those movies, the Indiana Jones formula really kind of carried over and then thrived through video games with franchises like Tomb Raider and Uncharted. So to have a really high quality AAA boundary pushing, like must play Indiana Jones title is such a natural fit, because what Lara Croft and Nathan Drake proved through their games is that, like, hey, this genre, this kind of storytelling is so perfectly fitted for video games. The puzzle solving, the mystery, the exploration, the action, all of it, the character interactions, the romance, the action, the comedy. Did I mention action? It's just, so I just think that Indiana Jones is such a perfect fit for video games, and as so many people have expressed in the lead up to this game, Indiana Jones fans have been starved for truly great games set with based on that franchise, and it seems like we really finally got one that's truly a great game, and because of that, I think it's kind of an obvious solution where it's like where we can't really, where Disney and Lucasfilm can't really do to Indiana Jones on the silver screen they wish they could do, they could maybe find that path forward through video games, which I think is a really exciting prospect, especially because what gaming is today is very different from where gaming was back when the older Indiana Jones movies had come out. So obviously, gaming is much more mainstream. It's much more popular. You can achieve a lot more in terms of the experience and the visual fidelity and the capabilities of what games can, provide and present. So I just feel like this is kind of like the path forward where Star Wars can continue on as this movie, TV, multimedia kind of whatever experience. Indiana Jones is it's this franchise that really hinges on this one character. And I know they try to kind of set up that most recent movie with this, like, maybe if you guys like the movie, we can do a new series about this girl, but maybe not. Who knows? The thing is, it's like Star Wars, something like a Star Wars is people love Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, but it's not about them. It's about the whole grand, the whole world around it. Right. And that's part of why Disney sucks so bad at Star Wars, because they don't realize that. But it's about the world around it. It's about all the planets. It's about the interesting world building. It's about all the different factions and different characters and different stories you can tell in that universe. But Indiana Jones is such a different kind of franchise because it's not about the world. It's about Indiana Jones and the adventures he goes on around the world, but not the fucking Agrabah or whatever the fuck he's going. Like, that's not what matters in Indiana Jones. It's about a sexy college professor that likes to get his hands dirty and is afraid of snakes. And so I don't know. I'm going along a little too much about this, but I just feel like this is kind of the perfect solution. It's like, yeah, you're not going to recapture movie going audiences' hearts again with old man Harrison Ford trying to make it work one last time, but you might be able to keep this franchise alive with great video games, because books, games, fake media like that, you don't got to worry about actors aging out or passing away, because video game graphics, because AI, because we can use AI to make Harrison Ford look so sexy and young again. We can make him look like a young stud muffin. What am I saying? Let's see. Okay, I was harassing Indiana Jones, and now we're talking about Call of Duty. Speaking of games where nothing fucking matters, the stories are nonsensical, and it makes me want to throw up because Modern Warfare 3 sucks so much balls. Several classic Call of Duty titles have been added to Microsoft's PC storefront, sparking hopes of an imminent Game Pass edition. Call of Duty 1, 2, 4 Modern Warfare, and Call of Duty United Offense were all added to the Microsoft's PC store for purchase, having all previously been unavailable on the platform. Games industry news reporter Nobel posted on Twitter that the games may have been added ahead of their inclusion on Game Pass. This had been the case for previously legacy PC titles that were released long before the current iteration of Microsoft's PC store. Call of Duty 2, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare are currently playable on Xbox Series consoles via backwards compatibility. However, Call of Duty United Defense was never released on console. Now, I don't think this means that these games are coming to console. I think these games are coming to PC through PC Game Pass, if I had to guess, because the amount of work needed to port these games, like port United Defense over to console, I don't think that's what they're doing here. I think they're just trying to find a way to make that backlog accessible, and you can easily do that through PC. So I'm not going to look too much into this, but I saw a lot of people being like, oh my God, does this mean we're going to get all these games on PC and they're going to go back from the beginning all the way up to modernity and put all these Call of Duty? I mean, no. I mean, look, Call of Duty 3 isn't even on here. Show some respect to old Treyarch. So I don't really think much of this one. I just saw a lot of chatter about it online, so I wanted to address it because it's worth mentioning. But that's really it. All right, last one before we get into the Game Awards, guys. And this one's really more for me than anything, just because I'm like, damn. I'm like the only person that kind of liked this game, even though I agree it's not a great game. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Rocksteady has confirmed that the current season of this game will be its last. The studio also announced, no surprise. The studio also announced today that the game will be, today, I should say this week, that the game will receive a long-promised offline mode on Tuesday, December 10th, so it's already out. The game's newest playable character, Deathstroke, will also be available when Season 4, Episode 7 is released, which is now. They say, quote, finishing up with Episode 8, which is scheduled to release in January. This will serve as the last season episode, or the last seasonal episode for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, said Rockstar. While Season 4, Episode 8 will mark the final battle against Brainiac, all online features will continue to be available. So if you're still able to play co-op with friends as well as previous seasonal episodic content, you'll also have the option to play the game via our new offline mode, which allows access to the main story campaign and all post-launch seasonal gameplay content without an internet connection. This is great for people like me. Players will need to create a new offline mode profile, which can be done by copying an existing online mode profile or making a brand new one by starting a new game from scratch. That sounds complicated for no reason. Players will then be able to switch between online and offline profiles with progression made either in either one not carrying over to the other. So it's basically like having two entirely different save profiles. As the latest title from the studio behind the celebrated Batman Arkham franchise, Suicide Squad was one of the industry's most highly anticipated games, but enthusiasm for it seemingly waned during a protracted development cycle in which included some underwhelming pre-release showings and a backlash to the live service elements being injected into it. So I don't know. I think this means, pretty much the game's over. Yes, they're going to keep the online stuff open for a while, but I think that won't last very long. And then eventually the game will just be off, whatever. Maybe after 2 years or something, it'll just be offline only. But I liked this game. I'm glad they're doing this offline mode to preserve it all, because I would like to go back and play all that seasonal content, and doing it offline and at my own pace by myself sounds a lot more appealing than the idea of feeling like I have to do it now before they shut the game down and everything becomes inaccessible for us forever. So whatever, I think that's cool. It's good. It's the appropriate thing to do, but obviously a sign that this game was a massive, massive, massive failure, and that this game is, time to move on. Time to move on to the next thing, Rocksteady. Wrap it up. Admit that it didn't work out. And go make that Superman game or whatever the fuck it is that people are wanting from you. But guys, that's it for all of our opening news segments. Let's take a quick little water break and then come right back and get into the Game Awards. So see you in just a second. All right, let's jump into the Game Awards. So we're just going to kind of do this in the order in which it happened. Now, I don't have everything in here because I'm going to be just super honest and level with you guys. The Game Awards this year, I know I'm critical of these things sometimes because I don't think this is a natural way to consume information, is to be like, hey, here's a variety show of things that you may or may not care about. Watch all of it and try to feign interest. It's just, the thing about the Game Awards is I feel like it's gotten worse because Jeff Keighley keeps committing to all these various shows, and because they're doing so many different shows and there's so many announcements to spread out among one year, I just feel like, I don't know, I feel like the quality of each of these shows is dipping precipitously as a result of trying to cater to all these different events for all these different announcements. So let me put it this way. Let me start with the nice positive thing. I think the Game Awards this year, despite being about similar length as usual, had a really good pace to it, had a really good cadence. I feel like the ratio of like how they were doing announcements versus how they were doing awards versus like advertisements, I feel like that pacing was really on point this year, and they kind of probably the best year so far in terms of just having things moving. It felt like things were moving at a good pace. No trailer was too long. There was no like Gillette fucking Robot Man ads or anything like that. They had like their cringy little forced humor shit, like with the Muppets, because they always have the Muppets at these events and stuff. And it's like, whatever. It's easy to just be like, okay, fun. Let them have their fun little moment. Had some heartwarming moments, some good speakers and things like that. So there's some good to this show. I recognize that overall, the bones of what this show was actually really good. It's just that personally, this is where it gets really subjective. My taste, like in terms of what was shown, what was revealed, my tastes weren't really catered to at all. And usually, it's not that I expect, like, if there are 20 games announced, all 20 of them have to be my favorite kinds of games. It's like, that's ridiculous. But like, you hope for 2 or 3 announcements that are like, oh yeah, those games for sure. But I'm not trying to be dramatic. I think there were like a total of 0 games announced at this event that I was like, oh my God, hell yeah. Like literally 0. Now there are games they showed that I'm like, oh, that game looks good. But it was like everything had already been announced, or it was like another trailer for something we've seen before, or it was like, something small. So there was no like, you just got to think about it in relation to things we've seen in the past. Like last year, they announced Blade. In 2020, they announced the next generation of Xbox consoles. So it's like there's a precedent for like exciting things to happen. The original Outer Worlds was revealed at the Game Awards, things like that, right? But this year didn't have any of those moments for me. Now, for someone out there, I think this year did have those moments because the end of the show had a couple pretty big announcements. But there's really only one game that was announced at this whole event that wasn't previously announced. That I was like, yep, that's a Jesse game. And surprise, surprise, it's a fucking Sonic the Hedgehog racing game. But we'll get into it. So I want to like give the show, like set it fairly and honestly. Like I didn't personally love the Game Awards this year. I didn't have a really great time watching it. But that's because subjectively just my tastes weren't really catered to, which is fine. But I do think they put together a pretty good show. So with that said, we'll start getting into this line by line. But keep in mind, some of the stuff I had to go back and rewatch because I was so bored through some of it that I was like, all right, I'm just gonna go like pet the cat and try to feed him medicine while like this plays in the background on my phone. Because at first, like the first hour, I was like sitting there with my Surface Pro, like taking my notes while watching, and then by like hour 2 of 3, I was just like, oh, all right, I'm gonna go like try to get the cat to take his medicine and just play this in the background on my phone, because it's just again. But let's get into it because I think there's a lot here for a lot of different people. So first thing notable, Hellblade won an award for best performance. So Melina Juergens, the actress that plays Senua, she won that award, and it's the same award she won in 2017 for the first Hellblade game. So that was cool. That was one of 2 awards that Xbox won this year at the Game Awards. Spoiler alert: the second award was also related to this game, but we'll get to that when we get there. So that was the first thing notable. And then the first trailer or announcement that was notable was definitely this Witcher 4 announcement. So they showed a cinematic trailer for Witcher 4, which we've known is in development. We didn't get gameplay, of course. It's pretty early in development, but we did get a decent length cinematic trailer. Now, I assume for a lot of people, this was a huge announcement. Obviously, Witcher 3 was very, 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 very popular and very well loved. In fact, I think the Witcher 3 was the first game to ever win the Game Awards Game of the Year award because it started the year that game came out. So that's cool. It's kind of a full circle moment for the 10th anniversary of the Game Awards, which I thought was cool. But yeah, they show the girl, which is, I guess she's from the previous Witcher games. Her name is Ciri, but spelled wrong, not like the phone app. And they showed a cinematic trailer with no release date. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure listen, if I were a Witcher fan, this would have got me so hyped. It was a good trailer. It was a good way to just like tease, hey, it's coming, Witcher 4. It's for sure coming. It's called Witcher 4. Here's the tone. Get excited. So that's awesome. I know this is like, Project CD Red. This is like their Bethesda Game Studios type deal where they go between like something like a Cyberpunk and a Witcher game. So this is like them going to their Skyrim or their Elder Scrolls rather. And I understand how that can be a very, really exciting thing for people. But yeah, Witcher 4 was the first thing showed. Then the next notable thing was Elden Ring Night Reign. So this is, I love how like we were just talking about how From Software is like, we're not really exploring a sequel to Elden Ring, and then lo and behold, so this isn't a proper sequel. What this is, I thought it was a DLC. I thought it was an expansion or something. But what it is it's a separate game that comes out in 2025, so it comes out soon. And one thing I'll give this showcase a lot of credit for is they really focus on games coming out in 2025, which I thought was pretty fucking cool. So there were games shown that didn't have release dates and stuff, but most of what was shown was all 2025 games, which is stuff to get excited about today, which I think is cool. So Elden Ring Night Reign. So what this is it looks like it's up to 4 players, but I could be wrong. Maybe it's 3, but it's a cooperative Elden Ring game. So you play it online with friends. And I think that's going to be obviously really popular because people fucking love Elden Ring and people love experiencing games with their friends. So this is going to be a huge thing, no doubt. But yeah, it's a new Elden Ring game that is a co-op experience coming in 2025, and they showed lots of gameplay. You can check out the trailer. If you're not a Souls fan like myself, this did absolutely nothing for you, but it is cool to see them try and take that Souls-like formula and and make it this co-op experience. I wonder how it will translate and if they'll be able to capture that magic in this way, or if it's going to be kind of a thing where it's like, oh, that was cool, but like that was a one-off like experimental game. We don't need more of that kind of thing. So I am curious about that. Next, they showed Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I said, oh my God, is it coming to Xbox? And no, it's coming to PC on January 23rd. So that's cool. If you're looking forward to playing the Final Fantasy VII Remake games and you don't have a PlayStation, you can play it on PC. The first one's been there for a while. Rebirth comes on January 23rd. So that was a nice little trailer there. So a new game was announced by this new studio called Gen Design. In this game is being published by Epic, which is really weird. But Gen Design is a new team formed by a lot of ex-Team Ico people, and Team Ico these are the people that made Last Guardian, Shadow of the Colossus, and Ico. So very heavily PlayStation associated developer through many years. But this is a new team formed with a lot of that talent, and they are a third-party team making a third-party game being published by Epic Games. And this game is untitled right now. They announced it as an untitled game, but they showed this trailer of like this girl climbing this like robot mech thing. So it's weird. It looks like Last Guardian or Shadow of the Colossus, but in like a sci-fi version. And then the thing gets like abducted, and it's kind of cool. It's I thought it was a cool tonal trailer. I've never played Shadow of the Colossus. That's a game I've always been curious about, but definitely never given a go. I've never really played any of these games. I never played Ico. I never played The Last Guardian. So I have no way of knowing that these are games I like, but this looks like they are making another game that is very much in that vein of their previous works, which I think is going to be really exciting to a lot of people, because this Team Ico, they were kind of seen as like a darling studio, as like a cult like these games are kind of like cult classics. Although I guess Shadow of the Colossus was pretty popular back in the PS2 era. That game was like pretty mainstream, conventionally popular. But it's like, you wouldn't like ask some like Zoomer fucking Call of Duty Fortnite kid what they think about Shadow of the Colossus. It's like a game that like you played at the time when it came out, or you don't think about it today. So this is like a game that was really big for the time, really an influential game. And so this is a really important developer from that perspective. And we got a lot of that talent getting the band back together, so to speak, to create something new that seems like it's a spiritual successor to those games, which I think is going to be a pretty fucking exciting thing for a lot of people. Again, nothing I'm going crazy for, but I can acknowledge and recognize why that's a really cool and exciting announcement. Speaking of cool and exciting announcements that don't do it for me, Civ 7 releasing on February 11, 2025, PC and console day and date. Cool. Nothing to say there. But the next thing they showed was one of the few games that's obviously very much something I'm interested in. So this was the most exciting part of the showcase, because just one reason. So let's just get into it. So they showed they showed the first gameplay trailer, the gameplay reveal for Outer Worlds 2. And Outer Worlds is very much a Game Awards type game. Of course, Obsidian's sci-fi series. It's kind of like their response to Fallout in a way. Now, the first one was released or was announced at the Game Awards in 17, 18. And so, they've kept the tradition going by always announcing and showing off these games at the Game Awards. So to have the gameplay reveal here was pretty fitting. But here's the thing. So they show the gameplay trailer. It's extensive. It's funny, just like every Outer Worlds kind of thing is. And I'm noticing, while the guns in this game look really unique and really fun and really interesting, it looks like just a bigger budget, more highly polished direct sequel, more of the same kind of version of Outer Worlds, and I liked Outer Worlds a lot, so I will gladly take an Outer Worlds sequel. So I'm excited for this game. I'm definitely looking forward to this game. Obviously, we've known about this game. They announced it a while ago. They announced it like a couple years ago, and so the only thing really exciting here is that this is the first time we're seeing it in action with gameplay, and it looks great. I'm excited about it. It looks truly fun. And like a lot more time and money has been put into it this time. And in the trailer, they even say, hey, years in the making. It's taken twice as long to develop as the first game. But it's not, but it's like 3 times as long to develop, or 3 times the budget, but only twice the size, kind of poking fun, because that's what these games do. They're very snarky and funny and sarcastic like that. But here's the kicker. They say that the game is coming out in 2025. What the fuck? Okay, so many things. First of all, how the fuck is this game coming out in 2025? It was only announced a few years ago, and the way games work today is they take forever to make. So how the fuck is it coming out that fast? Also, This team is making Avowed at the same time. So how the fuck is Obsidian? I get that Obsidian's a decent sized studio and they have a team working on this project and a team working on that project, but how the fuck is it the case that since Xbox purchased this team, they've put out Outer Worlds, Outer Worlds 2, Avowed, Grounded, Pentiment? What the fuck is going on here? You can't be doing that many games at once. This is insane. This is absolutely insane. These guys have a video game output of like an NES developer, but for like modern AAA games. It's just absolutely insane. So I know I sound kind of like frazzled or frustrated, but really more than anything, I'm just mind blown and impressed. And also, I kind of question whether or not this is even a good decision. I feel like Outer Worlds 2 should 100% get slipped into 2026. And the reason I say that is just simply because Avowed comes out in 2025. Also, Fable comes out in 2025. Xbox, do you really want to have not one, not two, but three big AAA single player, open world, Western style RPG games in 1 year? Avowed, Outer Worlds 2, and Fable. Now, don't get me wrong. I want to play all three of those games. I'm excited as hell. I think Xbox fans are going to be eating real good in 2025. So this is all good, exciting, fun news for people like me. But how the fuck is this game coming out in 2025? All we got was like a little cinematic tonal piece trailer a few years ago, and now you're just telling us, oh, by the way, the game comes out next year. What the hell? So, I mean, dude, so impressive, the output of Obsidian. I really think this team needs to be studied. Like, what this team does needs to be studied and replicated. Now, it must be said, yes, a game like the Outer Worlds, a game like Avowed, they're not as grand in scale or scope as a game like Starfield, Elder Scrolls, Fallout. These games are similar genre, but definitely a little more honed in on the scope, honed in on the focus of like what all you can do. But I say this as someone who likes my games a little more focused and tailor-made. I played the Outer Worlds and I was like, this is what these games need to be more like, generally speaking. I don't need a game to be like Fallout where it's like, you can get 700 hours of gameplay out of this game. There's just such a big world. There's so much to explore. There's so many side quests. There's so many things, factions. I don't need a game to be that expansive. Now, if a game is bigger than a game like the Outer Worlds, that's fine. You can go bigger than that. But there's something about what Obsidian does to output so many games that needs to be studied and replicated by so many others in the industry, because this is how you fucking do it. Now, Outer Worlds, Avowed, are these the prettiest looking games on the market? Hell no. Are they the biggest open world games on the market? Absolutely not. Are they the most groundbreaking, boundary pushing RPGs to be released thus far? No. You know, obviously you can look at a game like Avowed, which comes out in a few months, compared to a game like Cyberpunk 2077, which came out 4 years ago, and see that Cyberpunk is a way bigger, prettier, more ambitious title. But then you weigh the two and you say, well, one of these games took a decade to make, and one of these games took a couple years to make. And which one is more cost-effective, viable, healthy, and responsible to be making in a games industry where people are getting shut down and unemployed left and right because game budgets have ballooned to irresponsible numbers, and expectations from publishers for sales and player engagement have grown to such an unrealistic, unstable expectation level because people are too busy playing fucking Fortnite and Warzone, or because there's just too much competition out there. In a world where this is like what's plaguing the industry, I just look at teams like Obsidian and the level of output they're able to provide, and the scope and the quality of the games they're able to produce despite the time in which it takes to make these games. And I just think we need a lot more of that and a lot less of, oh, it's called the Elder Scrolls 6 and we'll see you in 12 years. We'll see you when your older kids graduating college. It's just mind-numbing to me. So, Outer Worlds 2, 2025. How? I don't fucking know. But it's cool. It's cool shit. All right, next up. This is another game that I thought genuinely looks pretty cool, and I would like to try it, although I can't say that for sure I will play it. Split Fiction. So this is the new game from Hazelight, which is Joseph Farah, the Game Awards guy that says fuck the Oscars. That's whatever, you know, he's really famous. He does the EA original games with his team Hazelight. They did A Way Out. They did It Takes Two, which won Game of the Year a few years ago. The game did really, really, really well and was really well received and well loved by millions of people. Well, now they're back with their next game, and much like A Way Out, and much like It Takes Two, this new game is also a co-op, like work together to play it kind of game, where you only have to buy one copy of the game and then you get a code for your friend to play. So it's very friendly in that way, user friendly in that way. But yeah, this game actually looks awesome. So you play as these two girls that like get split into this dimension or this world where like what they dream and imagine are the like come to reality, and they have to play through these levels to like, I guess, I don't know what they're trying to do, like get back to normal reality. But the two girls each dream and think in different settings. One of them is very fantasy focused and one of them is very sci-fi focused. So in one level, you'll be playing the one girl's like interpretation or imagination, and it will be like this sci-fi cyberpunk like fucking motorcycles on the sides of building kind of nonsense shit. And then the next level, it'll be like the other girl's interpretation. So it'll be like knights and dungeons and dragons and castles and queens and lords and serfs and turfs and all that shit. And it'll be all medieval hack and slash. But they're showing like the mechanics and all the kind of wacky shit that happens in the game. And it looks really, really fun, really colorful, really unique, really exciting. This game looks like an absolute joy and blast to play. I really wanted to play It Takes Two. That was a game that's very much been like on the back burner. I got to give it a try. I know my girlfriend and I would love that game together. But having seen this, I'm like, you know what? I might just wait for this game and play this instead, because this is the first game he's made where it's not like, oh, everyone says this game is really good, I want to try it. This is like, everyone says it's really good, but also this game looks really good to me. So I'm very interested in this game. It looks really cool to me. If you haven't seen it, I would recommend checking out the trailer. Level design in this game looks fucking superb. But, platforming, working together for puzzles and challenges and all these kinds of things. It's like a action-adventure platform style 2-player cooperative experience. It's really unique. I really respect what Hazelight does. I think they make some really interesting and unique games. And game comes out March 6th, so it comes out in just a few months, so it's just really awesome. Again, I love this focus on games coming out imminently in 2025. I thought that was really cool. So next up, we got, I don't know if this game was already announced. I thought we knew this game was coming, but maybe not. But we got a trailer for Killing Floor 3. So developer Tripwire Interactive. Shout out to Tripwire Interactive. They are from Roswell, Georgia. They are from like 10 minutes from where I grew up. So I always love that little factoid. But yeah, Tripwire Interactive. They announced Killing Floor 3 coming out March 2025. So again, in just a couple months. I've never played Killing Floor. I have Killing Floor 2 on Steam, and I've still never played it. But I've always wanted to play it. I know people always say it's like, oh, this is if you like Left 4 Dead, this is the game you need to graduate to. But I never played it. So I can't speak to it. But this trailer, much like how I felt about looking at Killing Floor 2, despite never having played it, looks really, really, really good. It looks like it's leaning a lot more out of zombies and a lot more into like general monsters and creatures and things to shoot at, which is fine by me. It looks fun, looks cool. But Killing Floor 3 in a couple months, love it. Again, I just really appreciate the focus on games coming out in the near future. Next up, Randy Pitchford comes out and he says, I'm Randy Pitchford. I played the Borderlands games. Our movie sucked this year. Here's a trailer for Borderlands 4. And they showed a cinematic tonal piece for Borderlands 4, which again, yes, is coming out in 2025. And I have nothing to say about this. I've played 45 minutes of Borderlands 2. And otherwise, really just, I don't know. It's a series that I know people love it. It keeps going. I just don't pay attention to it. And I don't really care all that much about it. So I'm not going to say I saw this trailer and was like, oh my God, Handsome Jack is back. And Tripwire, what's the guy's name? Claptrap is back. And Jack Black is back. And they're going to make another movie. And I have nothing to say about it. I know, obviously, plenty of Borderlands fans. This was probably a really exciting trailer for plenty of people. For me, I was like, oh, cool. Borderlands 4. Hope you guys enjoy that. It'll be, by the time this game comes out, it'll have been 5 years since Borderlands 3, so pretty acceptable time frame if you ask me. Next up, we got blue balled by Final Fantasy for the second time this show. So they show the guy from Final Fantasy 16, which is the one that came out to PlayStation a year or two ago. And I'm like, holy shit, this is it. They're announcing that they're going to bring Final Fantasy 16 to PlayStation or to PC and Xbox. Oh my God, this is so cool. I was like, maybe just PC. No, it's already on PC, right? I don't know. Xbox? Oh my God, is this the Xbox trailer? And then boom, they show the Tekken people and they go, just kidding. It's a Final Fantasy 16 Tekken 8 crossover. Characters from Final Fantasy are coming into Tekken 8. fuck you, not available on Xbox, kill yourself. Bye. And that was that. Or this might be on Xbox, but it doesn't matter. It's not Final Fantasy 16. It's just characters from Final Fantasy coming to Tekken. So that was the second time my balls were blued by Final Fantasy related news, not involving Xbox whatsoever. But next, we got a trailer for Splitgate 2. Now, again, this is another game that's been announced that we've known about, but we got a trailer for it. Game looks really cool. I think it looks like a game has a lot more artistic flair and uniqueness now compared to the first game. For those who don't remember, Splitgate is it's a free-to-play first-person online arena shooter that came out in 2021, shortly before Halo Infinite came out, and it kind of caught the world by storm for like a few weeks and then just died because Halo Infinite came out. But it is basically like a Halo / Doom / Unreal Tournament inspired arena shooter, but it has this cool gimmick. It has this cool party trick. Its catch is that you can shoot these portals into like walls, ceilings, floors, anywhere you want, and then just kind of like jump between locations based on like, if I shoot a portal at that wall and over there, I can like fight a guy in this room and then jump through the portal and end up on the other side of the map. And it's like really fun and unique the way people portal hop, kind of like the game Portal. It's like taking Valve's Portal with Halo and mashing them together into one multiplayer game. And I thought Splitgate was actually a lot of fun. I played a decent amount of it when it came out. So I'm all up for a Splitgate 2, but I almost wonder, is making a sequel the way to go to reinvigorate this franchise, or was it just like a thing that was popular for a few weeks and they needed to accept that was their 15 minutes of fame? I don't know, but I thought the trailer looked pretty good. Nothing I'm going to go crazy for, but I'd be open to playing a Splitgate 2, I guess, for like a weekend or something. Who knows? It looks fun. It looks good. Speaking of things that look fun, I don't know, it looks good, but I don't really... Mecha Break. So this is a Xbox and PC game. This is like the only thing they showed that was like Xbox focused. But Xbox and PC game coming out in spring 2025. So again, just a few months. So Xbox and Steam. Being developed by Amazing CSUN Games, who I've never heard of. But this game looks pretty fun. It's a PvPvE extraction boss battle mech game. I always love the way these kinds of games look. But then I play them and I'm like, it's just too much going on the screen. But it sounds like that might be doubly so with this game because it is a PvPvE extraction-based shooter, but with mech suits. So I don't know that it's a me game, but the trailer definitely looks cool. And I always love robots with guns blowing things up. That's why I'm a huge fan of Transformers. I like mechs. I just, whatever. It looks cool, but that's all I have to say about that. Then next, Sega comes out and does a couple teases. So they're bringing back Virtua Fighter, which is pretty cool. They showed a Western style little trailer and then turned into Virtua Fighter. So they did a special direct broadcast that I did not watch, but I don't know if they put a date on when the game's going to come out, but I assume it's in the next year or so. But yeah, they're bringing back Virtua Fighter, which was Sega's old fighting game before. They didn't have Soul Calibur. So yeah, this was like their fighting game. Basically, this was their Tekken, their Soul Calibur, their what am I trying to say, Street Fighter or whatever. So yeah, Virtua Fighter coming back. Now remember, this is part of that Sega collection of we're making a new Shinobi, we're making a new Crazy Taxi, we're making a new all these old Sega franchises. So this is kind of part of that initiative to bring back, Battle or Golden Axe and all these kinds of old franchises that were big in the Sega Genesis era, but kind of make them modernize and make new entries and reimagine these franchises for a modern audience. So I think that's really cool that Sega's doing that. And then Sega also showed a trailer for a game called Project Century. I don't know if that's a working title or if that's the name of the game, but Project Century, which is a Yakuza game set in 1915 Japan, which looks fucking awesome. So it's this old world Japan. You can see like a nascent Tokyo and fucking Yakuza samurai motherfuckers are running around slashing shit up. And it looks really, really cool. So add this to the pile of games from Ryugai Gotoku studio, who just keep making game after game after game. They put out like 2 or 3 games a year, and I can't even keep up with all these Yakuza games. So I like to say and think that I will make my way to all these games eventually, but I just fucking can't keep up with their pace. They're so fast, man. They're so fast. But it looked really, really cool, and I'm excited for it. But just kind of like Man Who Erased His Name, or Like a Dragon Ishin, or any of these other spinoffs they've done. Where's the time, man? Next up, Kojima came out, but no info on OD, which is the Xbox project they're working on. So who cares? He just presented an award, and that was that. And then this next one was really cool. Actually, this was a pleasant surprise. Nothing I'm like flipping out about, but it was interesting. So Saber Interactive and Universal, I guess Universal is publishing this, which is weird. Not Universal Vivendi. I don't. It's like Universal, like the guys that do what's like a big Universal property, Jurassic Park. So Saber Interactive and Universal are teaming up and making a new Turok game called Turok Origins. Now, I don't remember. So Turok was an Acclaim game, so I don't know who gets what ownership or rights to the IP or how that worked. I don't know if that was owned by like THQ or so. I have no idea. Because Turok was a game series in like the Nintendo 64 generation. And I think it was also on Dreamcast, right? And then they tried to like kind of bring the series back. I remember when I was like in middle school, it was like an early Xbox 360 PS3 game. And then that game didn't really light the world on fire. But this is like the first time we've gone back to Turok since then. So it's probably the first Turok game in 15, 17 years. Now, they didn't put a date on this thing, but game looks fucking awesome. Here's the crazy part. Turok, you always play as like, it's this weird like low-tech sci-fi future kind of like Native American versus dinosaurs, almost like Avatar kind of meets Jurassic Park type thing. Really, really cool world. I've always liked Turok. But the catch with this new one is it's a third-person action game instead of a first-person shooter type, first-person shooter combat game. So it's third-person now, which is crazy. But it looks really cool. I liked the gameplay. I liked what they showed. I like the idea of taking a bow and an arrow and then a machine gun and shooting some dinosaurs. So I am totally open to learning more about this game as we get closer to its launch and we see more gameplay. And I'd give this game a go. Xbox, this would be a good like third party game to get day one into Game Pass. I would 100% be into this. But yeah. That's Turok Origins. So welcome back, Turok. This is one thing I really liked about this Game Awards was there's the revival of a couple of old franchises, which I thought was awesome. So welcome back, Turok Origins. Then there was an ad for Xbox. It was their new "This is an Xbox" ad. So they're like, "Oh yeah, this tampon, it's not an Xbox, but this phone's an Xbox. This tablet's an Xbox. This computer's an Xbox. Oops, a box of matches and photos of your ex-girlfriend. That's not an Xbox." Well. Anyway, so they showed the ad. And I was like, okay, there's Xbox getting their marketing money in there. And next they announced Onimusha: Way of the Sword. So this is the first Onimusha game since 2006. That isn't like a spinoff. So Capcom kind of showed up around this time towards the end of the show and started going strong with Onimusha, and then we'll get into the rest of what they showed in a little bit. Again, Onimusha, not really my game per se, the samurai hack and slash kind of thing, but it looks cool, but just again, not for me. But then they showed Double Dragon Revive, which Arc System Works is working on for Xbox One and Series X, coming out in October of next year. And then Milestone, the guys that do the Hot Wheels Unleashed games, announced along with Polygon Pictures, which I think is a publisher, a new game called Screamer, which is a new like artsy style looking racing game, like a night street racing game. They didn't show gameplay. They showed just a tonal trailer, but I'm very interested because these guys make great racing games, and this game has like some kind of Need for Speed Underground 2 vibe going with it, plus like Project Midnight or Gotham Racing or whatever it's called, Project Gotham Racing. No, Midnight Club. That's what I'm thinking of. It looks like Midnight Club cross Need for Speed Underground 2 with like a cell shaded art style. It looks really cool. So be interested to see that when they show like legit serious gameplay and we get more details about it. But I thought that game looked pretty cool. That was Screamer from Milestone and Polygon Pictures. Then, this is the only other non-related Hellblade award Xbox got. So then they did the award for Best Adaptation. So it's TV, movies, things like that. And Fallout won the award for Best Adaptation, and rightfully so, because the Fallout show was excellent. And then we got another Xbox ad. This one was for Game Pass. So, cool. So then we got what was my favorite announcement of the show. Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. So this is coming soon to Xbox One and Xbox Series X. This is like a sequel to that. This will be the fourth Sonic Racing game, but it looks like more of a sequel to that one that came out in 2019, which was Team Sonic Racing, which was like a 3-player racing game. But this looks like more of a traditional racing game, but it's a kart racing game, but it's Sonic. And they showed it off with Shadow. I don't know if that's because it's the year of Shadow, is just their marketing thing they're doing right now. But in the trailer, they showed off Shadow's car, and they showed off Shadow as a racer. and it wasn't Sonic anywhere to be found, but the game is called Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. And it looks like it's going to have some kind of portal mechanic, which is interesting, where you jump between worlds, so I'm all for that. I would love to see some tracks based on some of the more modern Sonic games. I think that would be awesome. This game's probably being done by Sumo Digital because they're the ones that have done the other Sonic racing games, but they did not announce who the the developer was. They just said that the game is coming out soon, so I assume that's in the next year or so. And as we get to the wrap up, the last final announcements, they showed another trailer for Mafia: The Old Country, which was announced, a couple months ago. Developed by Hangar 13, published by 2K. This is the next entry in the popular Mafia series. Takes place in Italy back in the day, which I think is fucking awesome. That comes out next summer. And then they showed they had an award for Best Audio Design, which again, Hellblade 2 won this award, so that's really cool. So Hellblade got 2 awards. Fallout's TV show got an award, so Xbox won 3 awards during the showcase. And then we get to the last 2 announcements. These were the big heavy hitter announcements. The first one, and really the only one that matters for Xbox, is that Okami is getting a sequel. Hideki Kamiya, the guy formerly of Platinum Games who created the original Okami in these kinds of games, Beautiful Joe and all these games, is coming back to Capcom with his new team called Clover Studio. And he, with a lot of ex guys from Platinum, are making this new game called, the working title is Okami Sequel. So they're making a sequel to Okami. My phone is blowing up. What the hell is happening here? Hang on. Do not disturb. But Okami is an awesome action adventure game from 2006 that was released on PlayStation 2, and then shortly afterwards redone for Nintendo Wii, which is the platform where most people tend to prefer it. But yeah, it's kind of like an action adventure game meets like Zelda. But Okami, I never beat Okami, but I always remember just being mesmerized by how beautiful a game it is. It has like this Japanese watercolor paint look to it, and you play as like this fire wolf thing that like brings like the color and the saturation back to the world, and it was just such a artistically striking and exciting game for the time, and it still holds up to this day, and people just adore Okami. So for it to be coming back in any ways is just crazy. I mean, it's been like 20 years since this game came out, so after all this time we're getting a sequel. It's coming back, and I think people are just really excited to see Okami come back in some way. They did re-release it a few years ago in like an HD version on an HD collection, but this is really going to be exciting to have not just a new way to access the original Okami, but a proper sequel. So this is obviously huge news, and to have Hideki Kamiya coming back into the fold to make this game, it's like we're time traveling back to the PS2 Xbox OG era and making some magic happen again. So I'm all for it. I thought it was a really cool announcement. Again, Okami's not a game that I lose my shit for, but it's a game I've always admired and appreciated, especially for its aesthetic qualities. And it just makes me happy to see this franchise that's been like such a, I guess, a cult hit and a beloved franchise for or a beloved game for, among like the gaming hardcore, historically speaking. It's just really exciting and cool to see that it's making its comeback by getting a proper sequel. And so, yeah, hopefully this game will be able to find its audience. Capcom doing a really good job here of being willing to take risks in a world where game development is riskier than ever. Making games like Kinnitsugami, Path of the Goddess, and stuff like that, and now bringing back Okami, which is funny because Path of the Goddess, that when that game came out earlier this year, one of the things about it was that I noted was how it looks so much like Okami in some sense. It doesn't really, but like there's something about it that I guess that like folklore kind of Japanese look is what did it for me. But plus being from Capcom, but in any case, it makes me really excited to see that they're willing to do like a sequel to this game, because it's it's not a surefire hit like, I don't know, like a new Monster Hunter game or something like that. So I'm really excited about that. But that was Okami 2. Again, nothing I'm like, oh, I can't wait to play Okami 2, but just excited about like the fact that this is coming back is just it's just cool to watch and observe as someone who follows and appreciates the industry. So really, really good stuff there. And then the final announcement, the big like mic drop moment, was they revealed the new game from Naughty Dog, the PlayStation developer that makes The Last of Us and Uncharted games and all that, and Jak and Daxter and Crash Bandicoot. So they announced their new game, which is called Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet, which is a really stupid, fucking horrible name. That's just word vomit. But game looks really cool. The chick with the sword, fucking sci-fi, space travel, ships, and all the music is being scored by Trent Reznor, which is fucking awesome because the first thing you notice about this trailer when watching it is that the music is awesome. But obviously this is not an Xbox game. This is a PlayStation game. This is PlayStation's next big AAA output. But it's notable just because, Naughty Dog are kind of like industry leaders. Really when it comes to like the top developers out there in the world, they're up there with like your Rockstar Games and your Nintendos and stuff. It's just being like one of the most highly regarded, highly respected developers out there in the world. And so I just thought that was cool that we got announcement of something new from them instead of just another Last of Us port or something like that, which could have easily happened. In fact, we got news of another Last of Us PC port. So it was cool that they had something substantial like this to show alongside it. But that was really the Game Awards in a nutshell. Now, you might say, but Jesse, who won the award for Game of the Year? It was Astrobot, really. That kind of took me by surprise. It was that versus like Final Fantasy versus Balatro versus that Elden Ring DLC for some fucking reason, which was nominated. But yeah, Astrobot from PlayStation won, which I found a little surprising. I really wasn't expecting Astrobot to win, but that's pretty cool. As someone who loves 3D Mario style games, it was cool to see something like that get its due and get that level of exposure and recognition. And hopefully it means that we'll be able to get more games like this in the future because I do love these style of games. I love 3D platformers so much. So that was the Game Awards in a nutshell. Now, I did want to point out, so this infograph started going around on the internet from this Twitter account called Culture Crave, where they put, because this was the 10th anniversary of the Game Awards, they put this like graphic together with 2015 through 2024 with all the games that have won Game of the Year from this event over those 10 years that's been around. And so I just want to read through these real quick. So in 2015, the first Game of the Year award they did was Witcher 3. Next year in 2016, it was Overwatch. Next year in 2017, it was Zelda Breath of the Wild. Then in 2018, it was God of War. In 2019, it was Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. In 2020, it was The Last of Us Part 2. 2021, it was It Takes Two. In 2022, it was Elden Ring. In 2023, it was Baldur's Gate 3. And then this year was Astrobot. So if you look at that, From Software's on there twice. PlayStation's on there 3 times. And then you got third party like Blizzard on there once with Overwatch, and CD Projekt Red on there once with Witcher 3. But in Hazelight with It Takes Two on there once. But for the most part, it's dominated by anything but Xbox. Xbox has never been up here, so it's like, I don't know, man. It's like, when Xbox, when are we gonna get our Game of the Year award? When is it gonna be? Fable? What's it gonna be? What game is gonna come out here and do? Is it gonna be Perfect Dark? Is it gonna be like what's the game that's gonna do it? Because even though I don't love that this is just basically like games media and an in group of like self-serving people kind of getting to vote what arbitrarily is the best game of the year. It would be cool to see Xbox get some representation, because this is the de facto kind of big award ceremony that gets the attention, the praise, and the respect, and they did a good job here over the years of getting a good variety of games, but never have we seen Xbox up here. So when's it going to be your turn, Xbox? When are you guys going to put something out that gets this kind of attention? So I don't know. I just thought that was interesting to go over that for some reason. But anyway, that was the Game Awards, guys. I just don't have too much to say about it. I just found this year to be pretty boring. Like, a new Sonic Racing game. Of course, I'll play that. Excuse me. I thought Turok coming back is pretty cool. But like, really, aside from that, Outer Worlds 2, obviously we already knew about that game. Obviously I was going to play that game. I don't need to see any of it because I already played Outer Worlds 1 and I know I like it. So just give me another one of those and we're good. But again, it's like, there's no like real game announcements. I was like, oh my God, oh my God, they announced, I don't know, a fucking brand new Blinks the Time Sweeping Cat on here. They did it. They did it. Xbox has acquired Five Nights at Freddy's, and now they're going to make a Five Nights at Freddy fucking Minecraft crossover. I don't know. It's just it was just for me, it just wasn't my year for the Game Awards, which is fine. I think the last thing we got mentioned here is there's just a stunning lack of Xbox representation at this show at all. And I'm not just talking about the awards, because who gives a shit about that. I'm talking about like the announcements. And well, the reason for that is because Xbox is about to do their January Developer Direct. Now, the way they've been doing this will be the third year they've done it when this January rolls around. But the way they've been doing this is they select 4 games that are coming out in that year, and they focus their direct on those 4 years to kind of be like, hey, here's how we're going to paint this upcoming year with Xbox. These are the games you can look forward to. So you assume that they do one of these directs in January, and they talk about Avowed, they talk about Fable, they talk about South of Midnight, and then what? They talk about fucking Outer Worlds 2 or something. What else? What's the other one that I'm missing? But Xbox has a lot of games coming out in 2025, and there's just a lot to look forward to. So I wouldn't be discouraged that we didn't see too much Xbox at this showcase, because I think Xbox is getting ready to talk very, very, very soon about what's going on with them, much like how Nintendo wasn't really present at this showcase, because Nintendo's about to go announce a Nintendo Switch successor, and they don't need Jeff Keighley to be the arbiter, or the harbinger of their, not the harbinger. They don't need him to be the messenger of their news. They can handle that stuff themselves. So I think this is really just more of a thing of these events. They draw a lot of attention. People like them, et cetera, et cetera. But a lot of these companies want to be able to control their messaging better when they see fit, and it doesn't have to necessarily be at the Game Awards. So I think that's all it is. If Xbox didn't have a huge direct at the end of January to talk about, then I'd be like, okay, what the fuck's going on? But knowing that this developer direct thing they do is kind of the way moving forward, I think we're gonna have a lot to look forward to soon. I just really love that Xbox does that. I really love that developer direct. I think it's just such a fun and fitting way to kind of like be like, hey, it's the first month of the year. Let's set the stage. Here's what Xbox looks like in 2025. If you're investing in the Xbox ecosystem, this is what the major heavy hitters of your year are going to look like. Take a look. And I just think that's really cool. But that was the Game Awards, guys. I don't really have anything else to say. Feel free to write in and let me know what you guys thought. We do have a couple comments that kind of touch on this a little bit. But honestly, for the most part, that was it. So let's take a quick break again. Come back, get through these listener comments, and then that will be it for our show this week. You guys, we'll see you in just a moment. All right, and let's round out with our comments, listeners, shout-outs, youtube.com. You know the drill. Head on over to youtube.com/Xbox On Podcast. That's at Xbox On Podcast at youtube.com. Drop a comment on the latest episode of the show, and we'll read it. If it's mean, nice, somewhere in between, I don't give a shit. Again, the only thing I say is remember that if you want to be included on the end of the year podcast, top favorite games played, you can write in separate. So you could write in 2 comments, maybe one for that episode where you write in your top 5 favorite games that you've played this year, and then another comment if you want about whatever you want to talk about today, so that we have a comment for next week. It's up to you how you want to do it, but go drop a comment. And if you're on podcast services, feel free to leave a 5-star review. Only 5 stars. Anything less than 5 stars is a waste of our time, so don't even bother leaving a 3 or a 4-star review if you don't love the show. Thank you, and let's get into the comments, guys. Starting off with Mr. Mike Clark, who says, my VGA wish list includes, and then these first 2 comments are about the VGAs, by the way. My wish list includes Witcher 4, Mafia: The Old Country, Ryuga Gotoku Studios, Project Century, and Virtua Fighter. Seriously, who puts out more great games than RGG? Honorable mention to Sonic Racing Cross Worlds and Outer Worlds 2. Okay, your honorable mentions are like the only 2 games I give a shit about, but no, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, so again, this is a perfect example. Lots of games that spoke to you. It makes me happy to see that. I'm glad you enjoyed it. But yeah, to answer your question, no one. Ryugai Gotoku, they reuse assets, they reuse the same map and models and all these things and stuff. But still, the amount of games that they're able to put out and at the time in which they're able to do it is astonishing, incredibly efficient, and again, one of those teams that needs to be studied fastidiously, because goddamn, video games just take so much money and so much time to make, and we could use more Obsidians and more RGG studios out there in the games industry, making this stuff more rational. Cronky writes in and says, minimum 60% of the games at the award showcase were for weebs. What is happening to the industry? Well, there was a whole section of like Chinese mobile games, because Level Infinite and Tencent are huge sponsors of the Game Awards. So that's just them taking their communist Chinese marketing dollars for funding the show. So there's that. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's so weird because like I just my brain is kind of permanently stuck in the Xbox 360 generation, where I'm like, what do you mean people aren't responding to like Halo and Gears of War and stuff like that? It's like why and an Xbox today has all these Western RPGs. It's like games that were like Mass Effect or Fallout or Elder Scrolls. It's like, why aren't these games popping off today the way they did 15 years ago? But the games people want to play today are like, oh, it's a really challenging game where there's a dragon in the background and you have to do a dodge slide to cancel out your attacks. It's like, okay, what else is popular out there today? Well, if you must know. And it's just like, it's a Souls-like Vania retro brown. It's like, what is happening with games? Everything's like an anime game or an indie darling this or like a dodge roll mechanic that. I'm like, you're telling me that the mass majority of people don't want to just like turn their brains off and shoot the bad guys and make the good guys happy again? Like, what the fuck is, other than Call of Duty, like the entirety of the games industry just befuddles me with what's popular now and what's considered like passe. But in any case, whatever, to each their own. But yeah, I agree. Too much of this weeby ass Japanese shit. Not enough Gears of War. We need Xbox. People are like, oh, but PlayStation, PlayStation kind of won the market share. It's like, yeah. But PlayStation facilitates and instigates more of that weeby ass Japanese shit. At least Xbox is out here like guns and beer and women, or that's how they were 15 years ago, at least back when they were my Xbox. But yeah, I don't know what to tell you, Cronky. Weeby ass shit out there. Now let's go talk about. Remember last week, Xbox Year in Review became available. A couple of you wrote in with some of your results. So Billy Burgess writes in and says, "Hi Jesse, sad to say no one game for me was EAFC FIFA 24, or that your number one game was FIFA 24 or EAFC. You said you put 251 hours into EAFC, so that's awesome. Clearly you're a big soccer fan, or as you call it, football. Number 2, Dead Space Remake, 53 hours, or it says Dead Space. I don't know if it was the remake or the original, but you said Black Ops 6, 41 hours. Wow, in just 1 month. That's pretty good. Total play time on Xbox is 857 hours. Wow, reference to how to controllers. I always wear rubber glove. Wait, what? Reference to the controllers, which you spoke of last week, yeah. I always wear rubber gloves when gaming. Thanks for the podcast. Pleasure to listen to whilst driving around the UK. Wow. Okay, well, Billy, first of all, thank you for the support. Genuinely appreciate it. Hope you're having a good week. That's some impressive game time, first of all. Assuming that's all you, that you don't have like a friend or a partner or spouse or someone who's like manipulating your hours the way my girlfriend does to me. Those are some pretty impressive hours. You should take some pride. You're clearly a real one. That's for sure. But I don't believe you is all I gotta say about the gloves thing. You wear gloves, rubber gloves, when you're gaming. So you put like disposable latex gloves on, like a fresh pair of disposable latex gloves. Then you game, and then when you're done, you remove the gloves, throw them out, and go on to the next pair the next time you play games. Is that really what you do? To some level, I respect it, because it's like, wow, that's one way to really preserve your controllers. But another way, I'm like, you're even more psychotic than I am, my friend. So I don't believe you, but please write in and explain further, because I don't believe you. But I believe you, but like I don't believe you. You wear gloves while you're gaming. Doesn't that like make it harder to play? Like I would think like the rubber on rubber makes it kind of hard to like quickly release the sticks and things like that if you're playing like something Twitch based like COD. I don't want to think about it. It's making me uncomfortable. You're unsettling me, Billy. Cronky writes in and says, similar to you, my top 3 games on Xbox this year were all from my wife, which is wild because I feel like I played so much, but whatever. My actual top 3 games on Xbox were State of Decay, Starfield, and Halo Wars. With the numbers removed, I played about 500 hours of Xbox. Time to go to the gym or something. Shake my head. Cool notes though. 676 achievements earned, and over 14K gamer score. That is also pretty fucking impressive. I had very underwhelming numbers. You guys are all showing me up. That's what you're doing. You're showing me up. And to all the wives out there fucking with our data, get it together. Get your own Xbox Live account. Cargo Runner UK says, here's my Xbox year in review. 57 games played, 840 hours, and 1,104 achievements. My number 1 game was Hogwarts Legacy, number 2, Far Cry 6, and number 3, Skyrim. Number 4, Atomic Heart, and I am still playing Skyrim, but I got 1,000 gamer score in the other 3. That is insanely impressive. Again, another listener from the UK, Cargo Runner UK. What is it with all you Brits and your ability to play so much Xbox? First of all, thank you. We appreciate you guys. We need you guys. There aren't a lot of countries out there that support Xbox the way the UK does. The UK is not a country. Shut up. The territory, the nations, the United Kingdom, the kingdoms united. Listen, we appreciate you supporting Xbox. Holy shit, you guys are putting. What did I say? My hours were 200, 300, 400, 300. I gotta look mine up now because I'm comparing it to you. I'm like, wait, what the fuck? Actually, let me pull mine up again because I really genuinely forgot. Xbox year in review 24. Because a lot of mine was my girlfriend. She really deeply influenced my numbers. So I'm thinking a lot of you guys. Let me see my number of hours. 534 hours, and I would say probably half of that was my girlfriend. So I probably only put about 250 hours or so into Xbox this year. God, you guys are really showing me up. I look like such a fucking fraud. I don't have free time, man. I can't feel bad about it. I just don't have free time. I wish I did. I'm sure there are years where I put in like 600 or 700 hours though, for sure. Mike Clark says, here's my Xbox year in review. I played 234 hours, which is down year over year by almost half. Out of those, I spent 163 hours on console and 76 on PC. This was my first year using the Xbox PC app, so I expected that number to continue to grow. My most played game was Tales of Arise, with 91 hours with DLC, followed by Lost Odyssey at 57 hours. In third place was Wolfenstein: The Old Blood with 14 hours, and played on console. Now, Jesse, I hear you, and listeners of the show discuss their ages. And while I am considerably older than everyone who has chimed in, I figure I might as well reveal my age. Now, I won't mention years. I recall a time when vaginal sex was still deemed acceptable. Pubic hair was a common feature, and gasoline was less than $1 per gallon during my high school years. Let's dive into the Xbox Connect conundrum that was all the rage. Two prime suspects for the Xbox disaster: Don Matrick and his lofty dreams of shit. It's all veered off course at the crossroads of innovation and market appeal, leaving Xbox stuck in the ditch of console warfare. You can trace a direct path to Matrick's promotion to the Kinect, gobbling up the limited resources of Xbox's precious studios. Like Rare and Lionhead, landing Xbox in the pickle it's in today. That being said, it's perfectly fine to confess that you relish these moments or games. Just own it like a recovering addict, acknowledging that they were not the best for your long-term health. P.S. Machine Games is the best game studio that Xbox has acquired, period. I would say it's probably Obsidian, but that's not a bad take. The show is always great, Jesse. Show's great as always, Jesse. Wishing you and your family a wonderful week ahead. Well, Mike, thank you as always for writing in, and of course, a wonderful week has been wished upon you as well. Now, your time spent on Xbox, it's pretty respectful, especially for a man who's born in the 1830s. So I really do respect the amount of time you've managed to put into your Xbox. Now, let's pass the uncomfortable comments about pubic hair and whatnot and get back to the Kinect. You can easily. Here's the thing about the Xbox. I understand that 2013 Xbox One may reveal, but TV. We have an Xbox for people who don't want to be online all the time. It's called the Xbox 360. I understand that was a devastating situation for Xbox, and they never fully recovered from that. But I truly believe that a lot more could have been done for Xbox had they just been more aggressive and made some smarter moves during those Xbox One years. The problem was it took so long for the wheels to get back in motion that I just feel like, I don't know, I feel like that's partially something to do with it. But it is so weird to me that, like, I don't know, it's like PlayStation fumbled so hard with the PS3 during their whole, like, you'll have to get a second job to afford one kind of thing. But they recovered and they bounced back on top. And Xbox never recovered from their conundrum. And I really wonder if the main difference is, and I think this has to be the case, I think it's first of all the effect of how the internet can fuck you up and ruin your life in 2006 versus 2013 were night and day difference. And also it's just that I think Xbox's biggest thing that they're always up against is that even when Xbox is doing well, it's like they're doing well in like English speaking territories pretty much exclusively. It's like they're always doing well in the US. They're always doing well in Canada. They're always doing well in the UK. They're always doing well in Australia. But Xbox, it's always an uphill battle everywhere else. And with PlayStation, it's like it doesn't matter what they fuck up. It's like they're so built into all these markets in European markets and Asian markets all over the world, right? In South America, whatever. Xbox has like its English speaking territories where it does quite well, and everything else is like lost ground to PlayStation. And so when you're already like this second place kind of option, and then you have a fumble, it's like even more reason for these markets that were already like, we're good, to just like double down and be like, yeah, fuck you. And I feel like Xbox One was kind of doing all right despite its fumbling out the gate. But what's really more concerning to me isn't even like that. It's like how Xbox Series X wasn't able to surpass the performance of the Xbox One. That's the part where I'm just like, what the fuck happened? Because Xbox Series got the messaging right. The most powerful console, the price point just right. Here's a cheaper model. Here's a more expensive model. It's all about the games. Here you go. It's an awesome looking console. Go play video games. It's all about the video games. And then nothing happened. It just keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse. It's just, I don't know. It's just so unfortunate, man. I don't think there's a way to fix it, to be honest. At this point, I used to be so hopeful that, they had a good plan, they stuck to it, they could fix it. But now it's like, whatever. Satya Nadella doesn't give a shit. He just wants to make money off PlayStation. So anyway, let's move on before I get too sad. Mike Clark. Arctic Chief writes in, so here's some miscellaneous comments. Arctic Chief says, yo, glad everyone has been doing good and still alive. Jesse, I've got a few things to add from last week, so sorry. I'm behind on my replies. But however, I've been very overwhelmed on my backlog of games. More games keep coming out, and I want to play them, so I buy them. And then they stay shelved for a long time. I've been playing Spider-Man 2 on PS5 since launch. Haven't beaten it. Just beat Pokemon Arceus a night ago. Had to put Assassin's Creed Valhalla on hold as it is gotten too long. Now, comic book talk, I never got into comics as a kid. My first ever comic I bought was when we were Fortnite 0 Point crossover. Wait, what? My first comic I ever bought was the Fortnite 0 Point crossover they did with DC Comics. That led to 0 Point crossover comics with Marvel, and now has led me to collecting many other comic series, one of which is the 2015 iteration of Avengers Secret Wars. On to controllers and nostalgia. I never got into buying controllers really ever. Unless it was something really special. For example, I got the 20th anniversary of the Xbox Duke controller and the Cortana version as well. I've got all of the Halo Special Edition controllers they released. Aside from that, I have a few Special Edition Joy-Cons for my Switch, and I really enjoyed the Xbox Kinect as well. Both 360 and Xbox One update. I played a ton of Kinect, almost had every 360 Kinect game released. Ha ha ha. And finally, for the Game Awards, it's so difficult to be excited for anything. Either they announce it too early, or they announce it with no release date. That said, I hope to see a solid Fable release date, and possibly something more than Kingdom Hearts 4. Sorry for the very long comment. Well, no, we'll see Fable probably in January, this direct thing. But yes, I'm looking forward to getting a date on that. But you also said, OPS, Sonic X Shadow Generations was incredible. The level design was amazing. The levels they chose were great. And now I want more. Oh, I'm right there with you, buddy. It's such good Sonic level design. But yeah, that's cool. I didn't know about those Fortnite, Marvel, and DC comics. I've never heard of that, so I'm kind of curious to figure out what the hell those are. I've never heard of that. But anyway, back to what you were saying. I want to focus on the backlog thing. I feel like I really relate to what you're saying about, like, you have all these games and you haven't even finished them, and then there's these games that come out and you want to play them, so you buy them, but then they end up in the backlog and you don't play them. Now, you're a grown-ass man, and I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. But this is just generally speaking, not necessarily to you, Arctic Chief, but in general. I really urge of everyone, when it comes to your backlog, as much as you can, try your best to resist the urge to buy games that you're not going to immediately play. So just because a game's on sale, or just because a game just came out and there's a lot of hype behind it, unless you plan on jumping into that game pretty much immediately, I would recommend just don't buy it. Just don't do it. I've gotten into this habit because, I think we've all learned this lesson mostly with Steam, but we're starting to learn a lot with PlayStation and Xbox as they do a lot more aggressive holiday sales and things like that. But just because a game that you think you want to play is on sale for like $8 instead of being $45 or whatever, does not mean you're getting a deal. Because if you buy that game and then it just sits in your library and you never play it, you are just wasting money. So I always recommend, no matter how tempting it is when things go on sale, and it's like, oh my God, Far Cry 6 is $17 for the $120 edition of the game with all the DLC instead of being $90 or $110 or whatever, right? Despite how tempting that stuff can be, it's like, I feel like exercising the self-control would just be like, no, unless this is the next game I'm playing, I'm not buying it. Otherwise, you just end up collecting all these games that you're not actually playing. And I feel like it will relieve more stress to not own the games you're not playing, rather than to own the games you're not playing, if that makes sense. So that's always my 2 cents on that. Something I've been trying to get better and better at in recent years. And I would just really, want to put that out there to maybe encourage some other people to consider this similar thing. Just because, hey, your money is precious. We work hard for our money. Don't just be giving it away because you think you're gonna play a game one day. I don't know. But dude, thank you for hanging in. Arctic Chief, always glad to hear from you. Always good to see you. So hope you and the family are well, and hopefully see you soon. Anthony Jerry writes in and says, "Hey Jesse, good news. The Batman Arkham Origins is backwards compatible on Xbox Series X. It's the only Xbox 360 Batman game that is, but the digital version is no longer available. If you have a physical copy, you're good to go." Anthony Jerry, thank you for writing in. I didn't realize. So the reason I didn't get it on Xbox was because the resale market for the physical edition of the game is so much more expensive than just getting it on Steam, and that's why I ended up getting it on Steam. I totally didn't remember that until you wrote that in. I was like, that's right. I remember going through all this last year. But yeah, I already own it on Steam, so I'm just gonna double down and play it where I already own it. Again, not spending money on a game unless I know I'm gonna play it. So I already purchased it on Steam, so now I'm just gonna commit to it. But thank you for writing in. That's a good little bit to know. And then speaking of Batman, Mr. Malik says, "Greetings." So to reply to my comment about Batman Arkham Shadow, it's a Quest 3S exclusive. It's not on Steam or PSVR. Big reason why a bunch of people like me bought a Quest 3. I guess sometimes exclusivity does work. Well, Xbox, look at that. Wouldn't it be nice if maybe Indie was exclusive? And finally, our last comment of the week is Daniel Winky, who writes in and says, "All right, so if you think Sonic Unleashed is the greatest Sonic game of all time, do you mean that if you only had to play one Sonic game for the rest of your life, it would be Unleashed? Because as much as I love Sonic Unleashed, I don't think I can hold that to that as high of a standard as you. I would probably put Sonic and Sega All-Star Racing as my GOAT, my greatest of all time Sonic game. But I can easily change that with Sega Superstars Tennis or Sonic Unleashed. Yeah, I if I could only play one Sonic game for the rest of my life, it would be Sonic Unleashed. Yes, that is what I'm saying. It is my favorite Sonic game, and I do hold it to that level of regard. I love that game. It's just, aside from it being a game that I just genuinely love, it's also got a fucking amazing soundtrack and score. It's also just artistically my favorite rendition of that franchise ever. And also it's just deeply, deeply, deeply nostalgic and comforting for me. So a lot of it just has to do with that game came out at a time and resonated with me in such a way that it's like a deep-seated childhood thing. Like that game is very special to me in ways that like will never be able to be topped because it was just a right place, right time, and a very comforting game for me at that time in my life. So even if many, many, many better Sonic games come out following Sonic Unleashed, it's always going to be my favorite. But I got to take you to task a little bit on this. Like, you are entitled to like whatever the fuck you like. If your favorite Sonic game is Sonic and Sega All-Star Racing, by all means, man, you are totally entitled to think that. But I feel like we're talking a little bit about apples and oranges thing when we're talking about like mainline Sonic games versus like racing games and spin-off games. It's like if we're trying to rank Mario games and I'm like, oh, I think Mario Galaxy is the best, and someone else is like, well, I think Mario 64 is better than Mario Galaxy, and someone else is like, oh no, the classics, man, Super Mario World is the best Mario game, and someone's like, whoa, I think the best Mario game is Mario Kart 7 for Nintendo 3DS. It's like, well, wait a minute, that's like that, yeah, it's Mario, but that's not Mario, that's a racing game, you know? So I mean, that can be your favorite Sonic game of all time. I just feel like Sega and Sonic All-Star Racing, I think that would be like your favorite racing game of all time. Like, wouldn't your favorite Sonic game be like a Sonic game, like Sonic the Hedgehog 2 or Sonic Mania or Sonic Adventure 2 or whatever? I don't know. Like, it's just brother. I don't even know what we're talking about, Mr. Daniel Winky. Anyway, I'm just going to wear you down until you say Sonic Unleashed is your favorite as well. And then once you successfully say that, then we will be best friends and we'll probably go to prom together, but platonically because we have girlfriends at home. Daniel Winky, thank you for writing in, and thank you everyone for writing in, listening, participating, whatever the fuck it is. Remember to write in with your top 5 favorite games you played of the year so we can rate them on the last episode of the year. But guys, that's going to do it for this week's episode. Thank you all so much for listening. Thank you for your patience while this show took a couple extra days to come out due to the Game Awards. But until next week, you guys be good, be safe, be kind, get ready, get your holiday shopping wrapped up, and power your dreams.